If you want to improve your English speaking, but you don't know where to start, then you clicked on the right video. Today, you will quickly improve your listening, speaking, and vocabulary skills. All you need to do is follow along and watch till the end for best results. Click the like button and let's jump in. Here we are at level 1. We're gonna start with a short, easy sentence. Just say it with me or pause the video and repeat it back. Let's start slow. Are you ready? I completely spaced on her name. One more time. I completely spaced on her name. Once more, a little faster. I completely spaced on her name. All right, great. Let's look at this expression, spaced on. What does that mean if you space on something? That means you can't remember it, right? You are drawing a blank, in other words. At one point you knew, but right now you can't seem to remember. You're spacing on it. Spacing on it. I'll give you guys a real life example. One time I went on vacation for 3 weeks. It was a pretty long vacation, right? Well, when I got home, I got to my apartment building, I got in the elevator, and I completely spaced on what floor I lived on. At the time, I couldn't remember, right? Okay, let's go ahead and level up to level 2. Here we are, level 2. As you can see, I've stretched out the sentence. I've made it longer, right? Well, let's start with a slow read. Here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday. Ooh, okay. So this person, right, they had just learned this name yesterday. It should have been fresh on the mind. It should have been fresh on the brain, right? It should have come to them like that. They should have remembered right away. But unfortunately, they spaced on her name. Yikes, that's awkward, right? I don't know about you guys, but I can relate to this. I'm very, very bad with names, always spacing on names. Let's say level 2 again at a quicker speed, and then we will keep leveling up and stretching this sentence longer. Here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday. All right, slow speed, here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me. A very awkward situation. A very awkward, or we could say cringe. Ooh, cringe situation. Yeah, he had just met her yesterday, right? He had just learned her name. He should have remembered. Plus, she was standing right in front of him, right? But unfortunately, he forgot her name. He spaced on her name. Super awkward, super cringe. Let's say it again. Quick speed. Here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me. Flying along, level 4. Here we go, slow speed. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward. Okay, one more time, quick speed. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward. Things are tense, they're awkward, they're cringe. Let's go to level 5 and see how our main character can get out of this uncomfortable situation. Say with me, here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss. Oh no, this is a real nightmare scenario. This is the kind of situation that's like my worst nightmare. Being in a position, being in a scenario, being in a situation where it's revealed that you forgot someone's name that you should remember. You've totally spaced on their name, right? Now, our main character, this person, has to introduce her to his boss, the person above him at work. Yikes. Yikes. Uh-oh. Let's read this again at a quick speed, and then we'll keep on leveling up. You guys are doing great. Keep working that speaking muscle. Here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss. Take a look at level 6 here, guys. This is getting to be quite the mouthful, right? Our sentence is getting really long, but this is fantastic practice. It's like a workout for your speaking skills, okay? Let's dive in. Let's kick it up. Let's turn up the speed to a medium. Here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss, so I just mumbled and pointed. This made me crack up a little bit. Crack up, made me laugh. This person, they just mumble and they point. We know what point is. He kind of gestures at her. Hey, here's this person I want you to meet. Hey, here's this person I'm trying to introduce you to. But what is mumble? Maybe we could say speak under your breath, right? You talk under your breath. You talk in a quiet, kind of sloppy way where no one can hear you clearly. Maybe people are straining. They're straining to hear what you said. Maybe they say, huh? What did you say? You're mumbling. You're mumbling. I didn't quite catch that. That means I didn't quite hear you, right? Okay, this main character of ours, this person, they are really digging a hole deeper and deeper here. Let's see how they get out of it. First, let's read the sentence again at a quick native speed. Here we go. Ready? I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss, so I just mumbled and pointed. And look at the blue text here. And my boss shot me this weird look. Huh, what does it mean if you shoot someone a look? It's usually a negative thing, right? A bad emotion, like you shoot someone an angry look. You shoot someone an accusing look. In this case, it's a weird look. Maybe we could say the boss glanced at this person. The boss looked at them quickly, and the boss clearly does not approve. The boss is not happy, right? Okay, let's read this whole thing. Level 7, quick speed, and then we will level up. Ooh, this is getting challenging. Don't give up, guys. Keep going. Push. Here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss, so I just mumbled and pointed, and my boss shot me this weird look. Let's read the blue together first. Here we go. I could tell I'd totally fumbled it. I had totally fumbled it. What does that mean? If you fumble something, that means you had some responsibility, right? People had trusted you to do something and you couldn't do it. You made a mistake. Maybe we could also say slipped up. You slipped up, right? You made a mistake and you didn't do what you were supposed to do, what you were trusted to do, right? You fumbled it. You slipped up. You made a mistake. All right, here we go, guys. Quick speed. Ready? I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss, so I just mumbled and pointed, and my boss shot me this weird look. I could tell I'd totally fumbled it. Okay, blue text, read with me. But then she just laughed it off and said her name herself. Woohoo! Thank goodness our main character got out of this sticky situation or tricky situation. They were in a tough spot, an awkward position. Their boss shot them a weird look. They thought maybe they were going to get in trouble, right? But then this person, he's trying to remember her name. He can't remember it. What does she do? She just laughed it off. In other words, that's her way of saying, no big deal. Yeah, if you laugh something off, that's your way of saying, hey, don't worry. I'm not actually upset about this. I'm not actually bothered by this. Maybe you did something to sort of offend me, but I'm just going to brush it off. I'm going to laugh it off. Don't worry. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. All right, guys. Let's read this monster sentence before leveling up to level 10. And before we do that, if you have not clicked like on this video yet, make sure you do that right now. Maybe even leave me a comment letting me know where in the world you are watching from. Here we go. I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss. So I just mumbled and pointed, and my boss shot me this weird look. I could tell I'd totally fumbled it. But then she just laughed it off and said her name herself. Here we go, guys. Level 10, the final boss of today's video. Let's start with the blue text. Ready? Saving me from my own brain fart and becoming the chillest person I know. Ooh, I love today's super sentence, you guys. There is some really spoken, natural, native language here. Okay, so this person, she said her name herself, and she kind of saved him, right? Saved him from what? Saved him from his own brain fart. Right? Remember when he spaced on something? We could also call that a brain fart. Now, don't use this language at work. It's a little bit inappropriate, right? But if you have a brain fart, then you forget something you usually know, right? What if I forgot my mom's birthday, right? Normally, I know that. That's something I know very well. But maybe suddenly, in the heat of the moment, the pressure is on me. Maybe I freeze up and I have a brain fart. It slips my mind, we could also say. Slips my mind, or it slips your mind. Okay, so this girl saved him from his own brain fart, right? Right in front of his boss, this happened. And in doing so, because she did that, because she saved him, she became the chillest or coolest person I know. A person who's really chill, is really awesome, really cool, right? Okay, guys, quick speed read of this level 10 sentence, but don't go away because we have a cool down exercise coming up next. Here we go. Ready? I completely spaced on her name, even though we had just met yesterday, and she was standing right in front of me, which made things super awkward because I had to introduce her to my boss. So I just mumbled and pointed, and my boss shot me this weird look. I could tell I'd totally fumbled it, but then she just laughed it off and said her name herself, saving me from my own brain fart and becoming the chillest person I know. If you guys made it all the way through this gigantic super sentence, you are one of the chillest people I know. Take your hand, give yourself a pat on the back to congratulate yourself because you deserve it, my friend. As your YouTube English teacher, I am super, super proud of you. And I hope you never, ever feel like you cannot speak long sentences in English ever again. Because look at this giant sentence we just spoke, no problem. Up next, we have a paraphrase challenge. To paraphrase is to say something in a new way, to put something in your own words, and it's a really great way to practice your linguistic flexibility, right? If you want to be fluent in English, you need to be able to say one thing many different ways, right? So that's what we're going to work on here. Take a look at this. I spaced on her name. Do you remember? What's a different way we can say that? How about you pause the video, try it yourself first, and 3, 2, 1, take a look at this. You could also say, you blanked on someone's name, okay? You blanked on their name. I blanked. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm drawing a blank. I completely forgot. I totally forgot. Right now, I can't remember, right? All of that means I spaced on it, right? It slipped my mind, Look at number 2 here. Things got super awkward. What's another way we could say that in English, a different way? Pause the video, try it yourself. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we could also say things are painfully cringe, right? If a situation is super awkward, we could also say it's really uncomfortable, really cringe, really tense. Maybe embarrassing would be another good word to use here. Yeah, that was super embarrassing. Instead of I just mumbled and pointed, what's a different way we could say that? In 3, 2, 1. We could also say stammered and gestured. Okay, maybe a gesture is kind of like pointing at someone, a gesture, right? So point, we could say gesture. I'd say waved is a little bit different than pointed, right? You could maybe nod towards someone, give them a nod, but those are a little bit different than pointed, right? I think mumbled would be a better word to paraphrase here. Made a vague sound, an unclear sound. That's pretty good. Let out a noise, a strange noise, an unclear noise. That's not bad. Stammered is a little bit different because stammered is kind of like stuttering. When you trip up over your words, you're trying to say something. We call that stammering or stuttering, right? Mumbling is just talking under your breath, a little bit quieter. Look at this one here. He shot me a weird look in 3, 2, 1. You could also say, he threw me a strange side eye, or gave me a strange side eye, hit me with a puzzled glance. Puzzled meaning confused, right? He gave me a what's wrong with you stare. He gave me a look as if to say, dude, what is wrong with you? Guys, if this video got you speaking, if it got you feeling more confident, you should become a channel member. It's only $1. You can get PDFs for all of my videos. You can get hours and hours of bonus content, including my exclusive book club. Come read a book with us and improve your English. I want to give a massive thank you, a massive shout out to all of my channel members. You know, without you guys, I simply would not be able to do what I do here on English is Easy. I thank all of you guys, and there are hundreds of you, from the very bottom of my heart. And guys, if you haven't watched the full Super Sentences playlist, I highly recommend that you do. Watch one of these videos every day and just watch. In 1 week, you will already see a big difference with your English speaking abilities. Cheers, everybody. Stay well, and I'll see you again very soon.